All right, hey remote hustlers, I'm with Chris Boudy today for today's Tech Show and Tell. Chris is the founder of the Becoming a Great Dad podcast, and he started his own podcast and set everything up himself and manages and runs everything himself from start to finish. And so today he's going to give us an inside look at what that looks like. So thank you for joining us today, Chris.
Thank you, Megan. I thank you for your time. I appreciate it. So I guess just a little bit about me. Of 4 kids, we live in New Orleans. To give you an idea, so we've got 4 of them, 2 girls, 2 boys, 21, 14, 7, and 2.
Wow.
So yeah, right. So a lot of people when I say they go, wow, that wasn't planned. It just like most things happened. But we're dealing with all the kids a very good time frame. We've all been home during COVID. Altogether since March, my kids have been, home from school. I have been working from home. I've been working from home. So it's been really, I would say, exciting to have them home and spend time with them. And part of the podcast just came out of 1, having extra time, 2, being a creative and a tech guy and want to do something, and 3, because we have these kids of different ages and different age groups. I can bring experience to the table of raising a kind of pre-adult, a teenager, a not toddler but not teen, and a baby. Our family and also a blended family. So I know, like, my wife had 2 kids prior to us meeting. I had 1 child, and then the littlest one we had together. So like we kind of had to like hodgepodge this family all together, right? But I really felt like that there's a lot of stuff that real problems that dads deal with every day, that you don't really read about, you don't talk about. So I wanted to have a platform where I could give my advice to dads and to moms, because I've heard some feedback from moms who have listened to say this is some good feedback from me as well too. So that's kind of how the podcast, I guess, the of it. And of course, being the creative tech guy, then I had to get into actually making it, which I'll kind of cover my 4-step process of how you actually go from, like myself, not having anything to actually having a fully functional podcast.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this is all also, I'm here to learn as well from you. So I'll probably have a few questions throughout, but go ahead and take it away.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just get everything together. I've got a presentation that I'm going to kind of go through, and I've got also some, let's see, I have got some other sites that I'll bring up as well. I'll make sure I got the right. Okay. Tab open. Great. All right, so I kind of entitled this, So You Want to Start a Podcast. You can actually follow me on Instagram. Instagram name is Chris A. Boudy. That's right here. Visit the site, Becoming a Great Dad. Just to give you some more background, I said I'm in tech and creative. I also, in my past life, I was a web developer. So whenever I do anything, there's a splash of a website involved. I currently, outside of my 9 to 5, I also have a consulting firm called Creative Orleans. And so we do consulting, and it's really around 3 areas. It is around web design. We also do book publishing, and this is on ebook and print, and also video production. So I'm bringing some aspect of film into this, some aspect into book publishing, and also the web aspect. And so having that creative background, it was a little easier for me to jump into this, but I wanted to make this presentation for someone that maybe they aren't as technical or they started from scratch. I'm going to also talk about how we can do everything and zero cost. Everything I'm going to show you all today, there's no extra equipment to buy. There's no monthly hosting plan to pay for. Everything will be free, right? So let's go ahead and get on into it. The first thing I always tell people, and this is just even outside of podcasting, but for podcasting, you got to ask yourself the why question. why am I doing this? Why do I want to start this book, start this podcast? And if you don't have a good enough why, my advice for you really is to stop there. I don't want you to start a podcast just because it's cool or because you think it'll make you money. I really want you to have a great why behind it, and the rest will come. My why is right here on the screen. So these are actually pictures of my kids. This is the baby. Her name is Bina, right there. This is Emmanuel, the 7-year-old. This is Junior, the 14-year-old, and then this is the oldest, Heaven, 21. And so my why really is really two reasons. I think the first reason is that I have all this knowledge of fatherhood and being a great dad. And keep in mind, the title is being a great dad. One thing I tell people is that you have to go from being a good dad to a great dad. And the podcast goes through how you achieve that. But I wanted to have some kind of record. And this is realistically, this is an audio record, hopefully for my children, light years from now, when all these kids become adults and they have questions about how do I raise my kids. I mean, this podcast will effectively be a time capsule for them. And I can hand them, I don't know in the future if it'll be a thumb drive or SD card, but whatever media we're using, I can upload it to the cloud and give it to them and say, look, like I have, and if you listen to this is like my words of wisdom. So the second why for me is that I really wanted a platform to talk to dads. You know, us dads, we really don't have anyone to talk to or go to sometimes. I know dads a lot of times, like we don't have a dad support group where we can go to. So this really is something where I wanted to have a platform where we talked about real issues like, how do I get my kids like just to be on board with something? How do I get them to behave? How do I co-parent? What do I do with the child that I didn't biologically make, but now I have to raise his mind? I mean, all these things are things that dads deal with. And then also being a Black dad, I also wanted to bring to light just how we cope and how we teach our children everything going on these days. How as a father, how we things that we have to, put into play and talk to them about in how do we broach that topic with a 7-year-old? How do we explain that to a 14-year-old, how he should be careful when he is going out in public? So this is also a platform to, one, talk to minority dads, but then guys who are not in that realm to also educate them so that they can also teach their children about how to manage and how to work with that, right? I'm a firm believer that any kind of isms, racism, sexism, that is a learned behavior. And if you learn that from somewhere, whether direct or indirect, you can be the person that teaches your children, not to be that way. So you got to have a good why first. And again, these are my 2 good whys. But if you have a good why, great. Then we're going to talk about, how do we, then start this podcast up. But if you don't have a good why, I would implore you to take some time to figure that out. So I have a kind of a 4-step process, and you might see my daughter in the camera right now. Yes, that's a picture of Title. You want to sit with me as I present this, Bina? Yeah. Because if not, she's going to press on the keyboard, guys. So this is the littlest one, Bina.
Hi.
Say, hey, Bina. She loves to be on video calls with me. So let's talk about Daddy's 4-step process, okay, for podcasting. So, and this is something that I just kind of created myself, but this is my 4-step process for podcast beginners. We're going to talk about planning, how to plan your podcast, the setup, and the setup is more the technical podcast stuff. REO, which is recording launch, and then lastly, how to grow your podcast. So when we talk about the podcast planning, we're talking about the vision of it, the theme of it, right? All that kind of little bitty stuff that you may overlook, but this is probably essential to getting started. The first thing, a podcast title. and a podcast description. My recommendation is to look at other podcasts that are in your realm. So like, for example, mine was about fatherhood and parenting, and kind of look at the different titles they have, what was effective, not effective, what were good descriptions, and pull a Steve Jobs, right? Don't copy all the way, but just get ideas, copy some, and then tweak as needed, right? For me, I want to keep it real simple. The title of my podcast is Becoming a Great Dad. I think if you listen to that title, you know. My description is super simple. We want to take you from being an okay dad or an average dad or a good dad to a great dad, right? We want you to be the kind of dad your kids love. Now, cover art. Now, I'm actually not a designer, right? You know, so I'm more of a, I would say, of a web programmer, a little bit of front end, but I'm not a real Photoshop design cover art person, right? So if you're not that like me, I recommend two things. One, there's a site called Canva. And if you're heavy into social media, you're probably like, yes, I love Canva. But Canva.com, you can set up a free account. They have a bunch of just free cover art and free things you can use for cover art as well too. The dimensions are 3,000 by 3,000 pixels. But if you can't find anything you really like on Canva, what I did was I used a site like, I believe it's pronounced Fever or Fervor. F-I-R, yeah, I'm probably saying this wrong, but it's Fiver.com. But essentially, you have graphic designers, so you can pay a small minimum fee to. You tell them what you want, and they will basically design it right for you. I actually, and the only expense I had for the podcast was $20, and that was a cost for someone to design my cover art for me. That was pretty much it. The next few things, the content lists, the length and frequency, and also structured elements. So I'll kind of get more in depth into those. But let me just show you real quickly. This is the cover art. So again, the guy that did the cover art for me, he was able to design this podcast. And he actually not only made the cover art, but he made this whole image for me to use social media. On the right-hand side, this is my website that I designed. I kind of black, yellow, and white kind of theme to match, right? So let's first talk about content lists, length and frequency, and structure. So when I say content lists, and if you're a social media manager, you're probably like, I know what he's talking about, right? Content list is, let's try to list out as many potential show ideas you can do. To give you an example, here's my content list. So before I even recorded one podcast, I came up with all these different like I literally just sat and brainstormed one day. What are some different show ideas I could come up with? I came up with like 14 different ones. The great thing about this is that I now have 14 show ideas. So I don't have to sit there, oh my God, what's the next show idea for next week, right? I can just pull from this list and go forward, right? Again, as many as you want to, the more the better. The second thing you'll want to think about is length and frequency, how long your podcast is, and then how often you post. Now, I'm going to say there is no magic formula, right? I can tell you myself, even though I am a podcaster, I don't listen to podcasts, right? But when I do listen to them, I don't like long podcasts, primarily because I'm on the go. So my length is under 30 minutes. I want to get in, give you some good content, and get out, right? So I keep my podcast under 30 minutes. And then the frequency for my schedule, dealing with kids, work, home life, creative, I can probably do a show once every 2 weeks. For me, that works. Again, for you, it could be once a week, it could be once a month. It really varies. I think probably more listeners can have, but again, I say try to settle on a good length and frequency for you. And then also, you also want to decide on a good structured element. So when we talk about structure, I tell people that think about how you want to lay out your podcast. Now, some podcasts is just I'm pressing record and I'm just talking for 30 minutes straight on through, right? And that works for some people. For me, it doesn't work because I need to kind of talk about a topic, take a break, take a little drink, go outside and come back, right? But here's the structure I have for my podcast. And what I do is I will press record and do my intro, right? I'll stop, right? Take a little breather. I'll do one segment, pause, two segment, pause. I'll do a short advertisement. I'll come back and do a third segment, a fourth segment. I like to give an actionable item. So in my podcast, I like to give dads, hey dads, here are some actions that you can work on for the next week. And Bina is showing you some of the equipment that we're going to show later on. Thank you, Bina, for showing this to the group. We'll put this down. And then also an outro. So again, this is just one structure. This is not the set or be all structure. You can listen to podcasts and get some different ideas. I've heard a podcast where it's kind of like a radio where they just kind of talk for 15 minutes and take a commercial break. They talk for the next. I've heard some where they just talk the whole time, but I've heard some that can be very structured, right? You definitely want to settle on your structure before you start recording because it's going to make recording super easy for you. Now, we also can talk about elements. Or once you have your show structure, what different things I want to pull into the show to kind of jazz it up, right? Spice it up, right? My first 3 shows have just been this structure. It's been an intro, me talking for maybe 5 minutes here, add, 5, action, outro. And that can get a little monotonous, like at times. So I'm going to now include some other elements into that structure, right? I'm going to have a guest speaker come on for one segment. I may have a co-host come on for another segment. I may do an interview style for a third segment, or I may include a review of a product or an audio clip. But again, you want to try to pull these elements inside of your structure. You don't want to pull the elements into your structure, I think, too early in the beginning, right? You want to let your audience get to know you, right? So, for example, with me, I think I recorded episodes, maybe the 5th one, I'll put the elements in. So to give you an idea, this is what a structure would like with some elements. So I might do an intro with myself, and the topic may be family culture. That was actually the topic of my 3rd podcast. I may just do the host part, but I may have a guest speaker for segment 1, where maybe it's just them, where I'm kind of letting them take lead, right? I'm doing a short advertisement, and then maybe for the 3rd element, I'm having an audio clip from YouTube from a person that has maybe a child psychologist who has spoken on childhood. And then I may come back myself and do 3 pillars of family culture, and then also an action item outro. So again, we're keeping that same structure format, but we're just bringing those elements into said structure. So that's right. You want to adjust your plan. This stuff will probably be all on paper. There's no technical part for this. Then we get into phase 2, which I know all my tech people, this is our favorite part. Now we get into the technical setup, equipment, software, okay? Now, if you go out and read about podcasting setup, let me tell you, you will get lost in the weeds of different things. Yeah. I'm going to recommend the platform that I found and use because number 1, it's free. You don't have to be technical at all. I mean, it does literally everything for you. So we're talking about hosting the podcast, distributing out to major platforms. This takes care of everything for you. This also takes care of, and we'll talk about this later on, also monetizing your podcast. And the site is called Anchor.fm. This is actually my Anchor page. Website. Anchor will give you a free, I would call it a profile page that you could use as your website, right? I'm going to just show you real quick. So this is actually my Anchor page. I'm logged in right now. I highly recommend Anchor because you don't have to know any technical stuff at all. You are pretty much setting up an account and you can do everything from recording to the setup to the editing to the monetizing all in this profile. I won't get too into the weeds with this, but again, here's what I use. All right, so talking about MVP, minimum viable product, I tell people a lot of times when they go and they do research on podcasting and they hit the equipment part, there's a lot of information to discourage you on equipment and what you should and should have, right? My philosophy is minimal viable product. What do you have right now, like in your house, that you can use today free of cost to start recording? This picture I have is not an image of a minimal viable product, correct? The microphone you see in the picture, that probably might cost you $100 to $150. Those headphones I know are super expensive. That mic stand, super expensive, right? I don't want to get you caught in the weeds of having to spend extra money for this podcast. So what do we have now? You definitely have an audio feature on the laptop. I have used the mic on my Mac, and I have just done an audio recording with QuickTime. Also, cell phone. If you have an iPhone, let me tell you something. Those voice memos, super clear. You can hold it up like this. I have definitely recorded podcasts on the voice memo, and that's as easy as just record them, send them to yourself for editing. Now, I'm also in film, so I also happen to have this setup. And I'll just show you real quickly. This is I think like an $18 selfie stand for my daughter. So of course she takes a lot of selfies. So I borrowed her selfie stand, but this is great because I can just put it like this. This is a handheld recorder. And if you're a film buff, you know what this is, but this is a H4n Zoom recorder. I got this on Amazon for like $79, but in film, this allows me to record audio from afar or up close. And if you're using any kind of external microphone, I also would recommend a pop filter, right? This will, for your P's and your B's, right? This will stop that popping on the mic. This pop mic filter cost me $15. So again, realistically, I already had the stand at home. I already purchased this a year ago. I spent $15 on a pop filter. So realistically, you're talking $20 plus $15, $35 for me to get started. But again, when I first started, I was using for free either my laptop mic or my computer audio. The audio is not going to be that noticeably different. You would have to have very sensitive ears to know the difference between like a real high quality microphone or something from an iPhone. I know one podcaster, she told me that she has a very successful podcast and she records from an iPhone all the time. So again, the idea is let's take any barriers away, right? Let's not make excuses. Let's try to see what we have today for free to your podcast. So equipment-wise, here's what I use, right? So again, if you're going to use an external mic, I would definitely recommend this pop filter. But if you don't have it, and if you want to buy it, again, the mic on your laptop, mic on a headset, the mic on your iPhone, definitely viable to use. Now, when we talk about software, again, I love Anchor because on this right-hand side, Anchor actually has the tools built in to record and edit your software. So, so your audio. So just take a look real quick when I have new episode. I can record right from my browser. So notice I can select from a built-in mic, which is my Mac mic, or an external mic. So I can record straight from here. I can also do transitions, or I can kind of make little tweaks. So again, I like this application in this software because, again, not super technical. Anybody who can use it. Some of you may be familiar with the left screen, and this is a program called Audacity. This has been around for a very long time. You'll notice it kind of has like that kind of 16-bit kind of look and feel. This is a program that is used by many, many audio people and podcast people. This is a very simple audio program, and it allows you to do a little fading in, fading out, volume tweaking. Again, nothing like GarageBand, nothing crazy. I was able to pick up this software and within 10 minutes figure out how to, do some fading in, fading out, tweaking audio levels. Again, if you need that, right? I don't need that because most of my recording and editing, again, is right in here, right? So what I do, I'll take this, I'll record, I'll pull out the SD card, slap it in the computer. I'll basically import my audio files into the web portal and then, bam, go from there.
So would Audacity be kind of like next level, or like where you don't actually need it unless you want those effects? Or do you need that second system to work with Anchor to do the recordings?
Good question. So no, you do not need Audacity at all. Audacity, I would say, Megan, is like a second level. You could really work your entire podcast just from Anchor, right? I like to, okay, what if I fade in here, fade out? Or what if I drop a echo effect, right? Again, that's just me being silly. But Audacity, that's second level, right? You really don't need it, right? That's just a program that's free and kind of easy to pick up. But you can really do everything from Anchor.
Awesome.
Yep. So we talked about that second phase of setup, right? Of going in, creating your Anchor account, right? Anchor is going to ask you for cover art, description, title, all the kind of nuances stuff. And now we get into the best step. It's the record, edit, and launch. Yeah. And, people make a big deal about recording your podcast and slicing the audio. Look, okay? Once you finish step 1 and 2, here's the thing, kiddos. You just got to sit down and record it, right? Now, here's some advice I will give you about recording, right? 1, find a quiet area. You'll notice I'm in my dining room, living room here, TV in the background. I do not record in the house, right? I happen to record in my garage where I'm kid-free, okay? Find a quiet area because you'll be amazed on how background music, and they call nat sound, can affect it. If you're going to have an external mic like I have, get a pop filter. But if you're going to use computer or phone, you don't need that. And this is probably, I would say, the most important thing of the entire lesson, right? Besides the planning and the setup and even the growth, this last tip. Don't try to be perfect, be authentic. Now, what does that mean? I did my first episode and I tried to talk like a news anchor and I tried to pronounce my words and I have a stuttering little thing as well too, right? So I tried to be super Mr. Perfect. I listened to it and I said, this sounds like crap. I then pressed the record button and just started talking, right? I have a Southern dialect and you'll sometimes hear some New Orleans slang come out, of me. My phone went off in the background. I may talk a little fast or be a little slow, but I listened to it and the podcast, in my opinion, it sounded so rich. And it sounded rich in quality because it was me. Like it was authentic. I was sharing my experience of being a parent, but I was also opening up as I'm not a perfect speaker or a perfect talker. I do mess up words and mismerge around, but I've had people come to me and said, you know what? Like, I love your podcast because I feel like you're sitting across from me, talking to me. And so I have learned that when recording, it's okay if you have little things that happen. Don't be so quick to stop the recording. If you mess up, just take a pause and get right back into it. That's perfectly okay. But don't be perfect. Again, be authentic. Okay?
Love that.
And again, don't make a big deal out of it, right? Pick a day, set a schedule, sit in your room. I know people also have this thought about How does their voice sound? I don't like my voice, but my wife loves it. So, hey, I'm cool with that, right? Don't get too caught up on my voice sounds like this and like that. Hey, just record, right? Like, again, let's not put any barriers in our way. The goal is we want to get you with a fully functional podcast so you can start putting content out there. So no real big thing on recording, but those tips. Again, editing, when you are using Anchor, once you record, you're just uploading the audio files into Anchor and basically saying, here's my intro, my segment 1, segment 2. So there's not that much editing. Anchor also takes care of uploading. So it takes all those segments and just makes it one whole seamless audio file. And then if you're familiar with, for example, WordPress, once you finish uploading your audio, you type your title into Anchor, your description, you press publish, right? Just like WordPress, and you launch it live. Now, the one thing I love about Anchor as well, too, is that, okay, well, Chris, how do I get my podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google? Anchor will take care of that for you.
Automatically?
Yes. Yep, automatically. Yes, Pina? I see. Daddy finished this last piece, okay? Give me like 5 minutes. Yeah, so they will do it automatically. They have some tech magic in the background. I don't know what it is, but they will automatically. I see. I know those birds. You gotta give them some of that sometimes. I see. Those birds are crazy. I see that. There's some kind of bird show on Netflix that they love. It's kind of like anime. I don't know. But Anchor will do it automatically. So Anchor, for example, and here is let me show you guys my actual Anchor public page. And so you'll see Anchor has put my podcast on Apple Podcasts. And then there's some other lesser sites like Breaker, but you'll see Google, Overcast, Pockets, Radio Public, and Spotify. So they will automatically put that on for you. I do believe, like, for the larger ones like Apple and Google, you do have to put in your Apple account and connect it. But once you do, they'll automatically submit that. And then once it's submitted, you'll get an email saying, hey, Chris, hey, Megan, your podcast is now live on this platform. Wow. That is amazing, because I did podcasts back in the day, and you used to have to manually submit it to each platform, right? So just that distribution, I think, is helpful in itself.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about the fourth process and growth, right? What happens when, hey, I've done the planning, I've done the setup, I've got my first podcast out there, now I'm going to pop some champagne and celebrate. How do I grow my podcast? One piece of advice that I will tell you is this. Focus on just good content. Don't worry about numbers. Don't worry about listeners. We can get too bogged down in, do people like me? Do they like the content? Let's focus on your content and growth, right? But when you get a few under your belt, like right now, I have 3 podcasts. Now I'm going to start engaging what I call this growth timeline. How can I engage people and get them to listen and subscribe, right? The first thing you want to do is get to your personal network, right? Reach out, family, friends, church members, organizations, whoever you're involved in, and say, hey, everybody, I got a podcast. I would love if you listen to it. Mine is primarily for dads, so I'm sending this out even to people who are not, if you know a dad, uncle, or a cousin. Okay, well, this is not candy. Okay, this is a Butyrol medicine for your brother. She thinks this is candy, so we're going to sit this down right now. Would you like some cookies? AKA a bride right now?
Yeah, cookies.
Yes, cookies, okay. So we're going to take a cookie break, all right? Bina, would you like to entertain the audience while Daddy gets some cookies for you? Now, I know you can't see them, but there's a lady. Say, hey, Megan.
Hi.
She's like, where is this lady in the computer? There's a lady that can see you. So won't you tell her something and then keep some cookies? She's like, I do not understand this technology. We stock our house with various, of course, animal crackers, chips, pickles. These kids are snacking all the time. I personally like the animal crackers with a side of peanut butter, or apples with a side of carrot. That's the big hit.
You know, these are also still good tips. I'm not cutting this part out, just so you know.
All right, so let's talk about so personal network, right? Hey, here's links to my Apple, Amazon, Spotify. Try to reach those personal networks. Meaning you can't touch the keyboard, baby. I'm trying to do the thing. Now, the second thing is guest spots. Whatever the theme of your podcast is, for example, mine's fatherhood, try to find, and Bina jump to the, thank you, 1 second. Try to find other podcasts like yours. Contact them. Hey, I see you got a dad podcast. I also have one. Would you mind if I come on your podcast as a guest spot? And could you come on mine? Yeah. More than likely, podcasters would love to have you on their podcast. So let's say I have an audience of 100 people, and let's say I reach out to a podcaster of 1,000, right? When I'm on his podcast, he's going to kind of refer to mine, right? I'm going to refer me to his. So it's kind of that cross mixing of kind of getting content and people together.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because I think from what people that I've talked to starting podcasts, there's this idea that there's competition, when in reality, if you have a podcast about one specific thing, like, people aren't just going to, you know, if they're interested in that topic, they are going to follow multiple podcasts within that same topic. So what you're saying is brilliant.
Yep, yes, you do. So again, I'm not a podcast listener, but I have friends that do. And they have told me, hey, I don't listen to just one, for example, financial podcast or creative or tech podcast. I got 15 of them in my little podcast list. So again, don't feel like it's a competition. I have reached out to 3 or 4 podcasters, and they're more than willing to, you know, put me in the mix. And these are people that have 5,000, 10,000 listeners who have done this for years. And they're like, yeah, look, I'll have you on. I want to grow. You want to grow. People will love that.
Yeah.
Okay? The third thing is kind of advertising and reviews. So you can also use the growth of your podcast. And my oldest daughter is home, and so when someone comes home, the kids have this thing where they just go crazy. Heaven's in the background. I think she just came from somewhere.
It's really exciting these days to get to see someone. So the arrival of a person to a house is just so frequent that everyone gets excited.
No, whenever we come home, the 2 youngest ones, they literally scream and go crazy. I guess it's just because we're all together, and we're not together. Like, where did he go? And we come home and like, yes. Come here, Coco. Commercial break. Yeah, come here.
Not cutting it.
Just put you don't need this. Just put like Alicia. Alicia's over there, and the paperwork is right here. Come on, Coco. We also have a dog named Coco.
We're being real today. We're not cutting this. This is the real life stuff that happens while you're working during the day.
Huh? Okay, well look in there. So we have, and just to make a count, we have, let me see, 1, 2. So we have 5 humans, 1 dog, 1 fish, and 1 chameleon in the house. So we actually have about 9 or 10 living beings inside this house.
And you're taking like hundreds of plants outside.
Yes, right. And there's a plant inside and outside the house. So advertisement reviews, you're going to get to a point where either someone will reach out to you, or you can reach out to them. Hey, I have a podcast about knitting, about financial growth, about being creative. I would love to review your product on my podcast, right? And you may even get to the point where when you really grow, you can actually start to maybe charge for ad spots, right? Again, there's no real formula to that. Okay, well, you gotta look for it. I can't type it right. You know, there's really no kind of committed thing to that. I have found, and I'll kind of show you this later, but in Anchor, they have a built-in monetization platform, right?
Oh, cool.
Super easy. I don't have to worry about reaching out, contacting, and I'll show that in a bit. But you may get to a point, I have had some people that have reached out to me, hey, can I send you, I've had some people wanting to send me some bath bombs for kids, right? And they want to do a bath/dad time review of that. Great, right? You can definitely incorporate that. And then, of course, that company or that vendor or that whatever pumping you on their social media, again, that's just more growth, all right? The next thing is once you've tapped into internal places, try external places. So, for example, Anchor has they have a Facebook community of about 10,000 podcasters. I went on there and said, hey, I'm a brand new, we had one episode, I got 5 listens. Can you guys help me out? And I just started to get comments and emails, hey, tips, recommendations. I've had somebody who wants to have me on their show that has nothing to do with fatherhood. They just want to help, right? So that's a good example of an external network, and whether it be a podcasting Facebook group or a Slack group. Again, you're trying to reach an external network. Once you exhaust your internal network, to just reach out. And then the last item is that you want to think about what are some physical products that I could possibly in the future sell. So let's say a year from now, right? Let's say, fingers crossed, I've come out with 10, 20 episodes. I've got a great listener. I got 5,000, 10,000 listeners, right? And I'm really getting a good revenue stream from advertisement, right? I can create a second revenue stream from physical products. Now, notice that in this list, one thing you might have noticed if you're a keen observer, this says chapters. It says chapters because for me, I'm going to actually turn all of my notes and topics into a book at the end, and maybe when I'm 20 chapters deep, right? I will have already had a year of kind of massaging and building up the audience, getting them to know that I'm an authority figure in this area, right? And so now, when I have a physical product to sell, whether it's an ebook or whether it's a physical book, they'll probably be more likely inclined to buy that, right? This can be swag, and can be a cup, a pin. I've seen podcasters sell t-shirts. This can be whatever, but when you get this audience, you can really have a second revenue stream when you're thinking about physical products, you know? So when you talk about growth, first, we're just trying to grow the audience of the podcast. And again, this timeline is not really a time per se of 3 months, 6 months, a year. This is just a good guide of what I should do next to grow my podcast further. So that's the end of the presentation for a little bit. And again, I just want to show, we kind of already saw I think the actual dashboard of dashboard of Anchor right here.
The sponsor or the monetization part that's built in here.
So yeah, so this is this right now is, I think, the 3 episodes that I have, right? So if I had no website, then this is my site, and you'll see they kind of give you a kind of a website. It's kind of anchor.fm/whatever right here. This is my actual website, so I kind of have embeds of each of the things here. I built this with WordPress, bought a theme for like 20, 30 bucks, but I kind of tie everything back through here to Anchor, right? So you can listen from here or from Anchor as well too. I also show you, Megan, you talked about the monetization part of it. So let me go to the money tab.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple. So what happened is Anchor will find you a sponsorship, and basically you say, yes, I want to activate it. They send you a script. You record that script, and then you basically can say, hey, in this podcast, I want to throw this ad script into this podcast. And as you listen, of course, what is it, 10, 15 cents per listen, you'll see I already have $1.07. So I'm waiting to max this out so I can get me some McDonald's.
Yeah.
But as time goes along, they will continue to find ads in your realm. So I don't have to go scouring out for this. And then I can simply accumulate money, and then I can just cash out when need be. On this advertisement, I think the top rate is $15. So I'm gonna wait until I hit about a good 15, $30, whatever the case may be, and again, cash out. This also allows for what they call listener support. So as a listener, they can make a monetary donation, either a one-time donation, and let me go to the dashboard. And there we go. They can make a 99, so like $1 a month, $5 or $10 a month. I haven't gotten any yet, but I'm on the way there. But you can kind of have an kind of ongoing in the podcast. Again, they just click it. They fill out name, email, credit card information. They are supporting for $1 a month. Again, this is also great. And if you do have supporters, similar to the website, and I think it's called Patreon, you can also give out different tiers. Hey, for 99 cents a month, I'll give you first access to podcasts. For $5 a month, you'll be eligible to be on the show. For $10 a month, I'll send you some swag once it's available. So this is a very good kind of, also a way outside of advertisement too, just to get some good revenue. And then banana break. And then the last thing I'll show you, which again I love, Megan, you'll probably love this as well too. And this is kind of for all my data nerds out there. They also give you stats, which us nerds,
Yes.
we love stats, right? So these are stats on my plays. We have a play stat, and it kind of goes, and this is kind of weekly. You can do daily, weekly, monthly. Here are my top episodes, right? And here's my favorite. You ready for this? We got location. So I got people in Morocco, Argentina, Australia, Switzerland. Whoever's that one person in Switzerland, shout out to you. I appreciate it. Okay.
I know who your Moroccan listener is.
Yes, that too. And this says 4%. So I'm not sure if this breaks down. Oh, here we go. They even break you down in what region of Morocco. So that's pretty cool.
That is so
That's pretty cool.
I saw at the bottom of the sections too, on the higher levels, it said you could export it into a CSV, which is super cool because then you can sort and visualize your data however you want over time.
Yep, correct. I live in New Orleans, so it makes sense. My listeners are mostly in Louisiana, but I got Texas, Indiana, Colorado. There's like 2 people in New York, or 5. Appreciate New York, California. And let's see if it tells me the boroughs. Oh, no, just New York. Okay, cool. So I know the majority of my listenership is from Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Again, this can help if you want to get into possibly advertising. This can tell you where the dollars at. I can also click on devices. It will tell me devices. Here we go. So we got iPhone, web, Android, and 37 other, right?
I think that's useful too. And I was thinking when you were talking about length earlier, how a lot of people think an hour is what a podcast should be. But realistically, to me, if I were to listen to a podcast, I would want it to be the duration of whatever my regular commute would be. So that would account for too, like having mostly phone users, is that people are listening to it either on their commute or while they're doing a walk or something.
Exactly. Or they're exercising, or they're walking their dog. For me, my commute is, I'd say the normal person commute is probably 15 to 30 minutes if you're somewhere like that. If you're working out, you're probably doing workout 30 minutes or 45 minutes again, right? I know that I'm not going to just sit still and listen to someone for 30 minutes. I'm going to be on the move. So again,
Yeah.
I want to keep it very succinct to the point. I've actually listened to, there's somebody who has a podcast called What Great Bosses Know. Her name is Jill Geisner. She literally has a 4-minute podcast. It is the best podcast I have ever listened to. She has a very short intro, but in 4 minutes, she gives you very good insight into if you are a boss or a manager or executive, what you should work on. That's a great example of how you don't need an hour-long podcast, 30 minutes or below, 15 minutes or below to get in, get out. You can also look at my gender. This makes sense. Again, for me, it's heavily male dominated. So I have 92% male. This tells me age. I'm 36. So that makes sense that my demographic is in my age range. I need to work on getting that 45 demographic because maybe they're not listening or maybe they're not on podcasts and maybe 60 plus don't care, but I'm getting a good meat of them right here.
Well, I think like the 45 to 59 age range, a lot of that's like their kids are out of the house. So they've either succeeded or failed in becoming a great dad by now.
There you go. There you go. There you go. These 4 areas trying to get my maximum exposure right here as well to on age. So again, I love these stats, right? These just give me a very high level. I don't have to export data or go through data mining. I know about data, but I'm not a data nerd. So just to see it and say, yep, this makes sense. I can tell what's up. And I'm looking at this. Here's the export to CSV file, Megan. But again, I can look at this on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. This tells me my total plays. This is my audience size and what's in my wallet right now. Now again, you can also have social media. I don't have a separate social media platform for this. I have my own personal account that I post. But again, website, social media, anything that you want to include to manage to, pump that podcast out.
You should go ahead and claim the social media handles for this though, because especially when you start promoting your book.
Yep. I should.
This is cool. I like that the data also is good because when you reach that higher tier of approaching like larger sponsors, for example, sponsors will want to know what your demographics look like and what your numbers look like. So this is like an at a glance thing that you can give them.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So that's it. Thank you guys. I appreciate you sharing. Again, I'm gonna just show just some real quick links. Here's the website, becomingagreatdad.com. You can listen to it from here. You can also go to anchor.fm/becoming a great dad. That'll bring you directly to that page as well. Pull up my Instagram just so it could be on the recording. But here I am, Instagram.com/Chris Boudy. You'll see all my stats outside of podcasting. You can also follow my gardening account. And that's a whole separate story for a separate day.
Yeah, we're going to have to explore that on its own because that's a whole interesting story itself.
Yep, but if you're into technology, if you're a parent, if you're into gardening, definitely follow me. You'll get a whole bunch of content there as well too. But Meg, thanks again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. And if someone goes through this program and starts setting up their podcast and then hits a wall where they need help, do you offer sort of like consulting services where people could maybe book an hour with you or 2 hours?
Sure. Yep, I sure do. So let me bring up my site. This is creativeorleans.com. I talked about this a little earlier, but you can contact me through here. There is a contact form. Come straight to my email and text message. I can get to you back pronto. But yes, you can come and I can set up some hours for consulting with you. If you do the old mention for a remote hustle, I will definitely cut you a super great deal. The consulting hourly rate will be super cheap, right?
Right.
But yeah, but definitely creativeorleans.com. Come to the contact. Again, we do consulting not only on podcasts, but on web design. If you're thinking about doing a book, so we also have clients that do book publishing, whether it's ebook or print, and also video production as well.
So I have to ask, did you put together the Chef Toya cookbook?
Yes, I did, and so Chef Toya is my wife. She is a celebrity chef, and let me just show my wife real quick. Just give her a shout out.
Yeah.
She's super famous, and I'm always asking her, "Babe, can you post my stuff on your page?" like that. But this is her account, right? And she is a celebrity chef. She's a cook. Love her to death. But yeah, so I am not only her husband, that's me here for proof, but I am also her manager, and she has come and she came out with, now, I'm going to say this, Megan, to kind of toot on a little bit. She not only came out with a book, right, but we came out, you ready for this? We came out with the first interactive Apple cookbook. There is no other person that has come out with an interactive, and meaning that in her Apple cookbook, she has interactive modules, she has videos inside the cookbook.
Okay, we're going to have to do a whole other thing about that because I have so many questions, but I would love, to see how that works.
And just a quick shout out, this is her site, cheftoyboudy.com. If you love Southern New Orleans food, and if you want to get off on a tangent, this is the cookbook that we produced for her. She has one on Apple, Amazon, and a hard copy. But the virtual ebook, and this is for my Apple folks, when you get this ebook, this is an ebook where it's not like a normal book where you just have a picture and words. You will actually have video directions, step by step. You have pop-out pictures. You have media galleries. This is really interactive cookbook. So this will really walk you through step by step of how to make some really good classic New Orleans dishes. I'm super proud to say that we looked high and low, and this is the only interactive cookbook out there in Apple right now.
That is super cool. Please, we're going to keep talking about that because I want to post links to that just in general, and I think that's super cool. Okay, we're coming up on our time, so I'm going to go ahead and end here. And thank you so much, Chris, for teaching us about podcasting today. And I feel like we learned a lot more than just about podcasting. And so if anyone has any follow-up questions for Chris, he is in our Slack group. So you can either DM him, or you can, even if you think your question is helpful for the group, you can just post that question publicly, and then you can and Chris will answer your question. So
there you go.
Thank you so much, Chris.
See you guys later. Thanks again.